I'm Simon Jordan. You'll probably be familiar with me.
Take two.
Split.
Why don't you just go, I'm Simon Jordan? That'd be enough for him.
Yeah. I'm Simon Jordan. You'll probably be familiar with me interviewing people with strong views.
But it's about time someone had a word with him about his vacuous opinions.
That's why myself, Troy Deeney, and the legend that is Graeme Souness have joined forces with Mr. Simon Jordan to create Free Up Front, brought to you by William Hill.
This is a new show that tells it like it really is.
And it reaches in to all corners of the game we truly love.
Wow, that little bit.
Oh, Graham, that was brilliant. That extra word you put in there.
Everything that matters to you is analysed through the eyes of a player.
A manager.
And an owner, as we tackle the biggest talking points in world football on Free Up Front.
So subscribe to the Upfront channel for new weekly episodes.
And don't forget to go back for some of my Upfront episodes. Not bad, if I do say so myself.
Hold on, mate. Can't be promoting each other's show.
Oh, you very well can. This is the opportunity that you've been got on the back of it.
Yeah.
So, another Premier League season concludes with a familiar story unfolding. Man City, Premier League champions. Elsewhere, Burnley, Sheffield United and Luton head straight back down to the Championship with a record low points total. So with each passing season, is the Premier League becoming more of a closed shop at the top and more difficult than ever to survive at the bottom? Let's start with the top. Man City champions for the 6th time in 7 years. Mm-hmm. And the first English team to win 4 titles in a row. Is there a worry beginning to emanate amongst ourselves and amongst football that this is becoming a bit of a monopoly?
What I would say, if you win a league, that means you've been the best team over the 9 months. You know, you've dealt with the difficult times, the dip in form with injuries. You know, mentally you've bounced back from disappointments. So City deserve to win the league. Is that monopoly? I think as long as, I don't think as long as Pep's there, I think as long as that family are involved from Abu Dhabi, they'll be the ones to beat.
I think a little bit different to that though. I don't think there's a monopoly. I think there's it's become a great time. It took City 10 years to build into the team they've become. Arsenal rebuild. Liverpool were rebuilding. We'll probably have to rebuild again. Chelsea rebuilding. They've come at a really good time where everybody else is just figuring out who and what they are long term.
But if you're getting 4 titles in a row, I mean, your great sides that you will refer back to religiously and relentlessly, didn't win 4 in a row. No one else has done it in the Premier League. That's because you chose to depart. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it would be something to do with your departure. But no one has done this, and there's no slowing down of Man City. So the thought process that it is becoming a challenged perspective, is this about the other sides or is it about Man City?
The time to strengthen is when you're sitting top of the pile. And City are not buying players like everyone else is for next season. City are buying players today for 2 and 3 years down the line. They can forward plan, where the rest of them, it's like you're buying under pressure.
I've got an interesting question for you because you know a lot more about this than me, but does it still sit around this FFP? Does that impact and change? Very similar to what happened.
People don't play by the rules.
See what happened with Chelsea though. Remember, Chelsea were dominating for a while, then they got hit when Frank came in and had to wait, and it slowed them down a little bit.
Yeah, well, that was different though. They weren't getting done for FFP there. They were getting done for breaching Premier League rules around the recruitment of young players. So they got a consequence for their behaviour, which was soliciting young players and providing inducements to their parents. So that was a slightly different dynamic, and they got sanctioned not to be able to buy players. But I'm interested in the perspective of City and their dominance. The concern is about, does it monopolise the league, and does this kind of reduce the Premier League to a sum of also-rans?
I said it 5 minutes ago. I think as long as the people from Abu Dhabi are involved, they will be challenging, if not the team to beat. They will not. It's not going to be a monopoly forever. I mean, right now they're very, very strong.
But it's tiny margins now, isn't it? It's tiny margins.
That's English football. It's never been the case. Never will be the case.
Sorry, just to come in there, I think when you look at that, Arsenal have closed the gap tremendously this year, and we all say they need a striker, they need a left back, possibly 1 or 2 others just to fill the bench. So they're going to do that this summer. City can't buy every player. Not everyone wants to go. And as players we've known, not everyone wants to go to the team that's already winning. We want to be the team that knocked you off. So I don't think it's a monopoly, and I don't think it's an also-rans. I think there is a lot of poor teams coming up now. And I think that the coaching, and Graeme can talk to this better than me, I think the coaching is getting to a point where people are now doing exactly what they think they want for a job moving forward. So when we got into the Premier League in 2015, can Troy Deeney compete with Vincent Kompany at the time? Probably not, but I'll bash him up and have a good go. And that's what we had to do to compete. Where now, who really tries to bash anybody up? When Brentford come up a few years ago, they were all football, football, football. Actually, do you know what?
Not a wee bit like that this year?
No, because I don't think they had an Ivan Toney quality. So when you start looking at it, it's what Luton, I think everyone's a different consequence. So Luton, new stadium afterwards, they'll be financially set up for the next.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic. We'll go after the promoted clubs and what they should and shouldn't do. But I want to go back to Man City. This debate that we have, you have it, I have it, about legacy football clubs, about super clubs and what they represent. Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, Juventus, Barcelona. These are Ferraris in branding terms. Yeah. Whereas Man City and even Chelsea, for the want of this conversation, are Red Bull. But at what point are we going to get to a stage where we stop potentially people like me and others looking at Man City and going, well, you're not that sort of club. You might be winning things on the field, but you don't have the hearts and minds of the eyes around the world.
I think it's happening a lot quicker than you'd like to think, because there's kids on the train when I was coming down today, Man City shirts on. There's young lads that I've played with that are in 18 to 24 mile now. They prefer to watch Real Madrid. They prefer to watch Barcelona because they grew up watching Ronaldo and Messi. They don't sit and think about Andy Cole. They don't sit and think about the teams that we are. So I think it's more of a generational thing now where people are looking at Arsenal and going, well, when was the last time you won something? And even though we can all remember that, I think that's what's changing.
So you believe that we're at a point now, potentially, or at a tipping point, where the Man City achievements is going to surpass the legacy and relationship that people have with clubs like Liverpool and Man United.
No, the only way they surpass that has become serial winners of the Champions League and serial winners of the Premier League. There's still, Liverpool got 19, Man U got 20 First Division Premier League titles.
But you're talking to a generation that never seen.
I would say it's another 10 years before you get to that stage. You watch CNN news or you watch Sky News or the BBC, and they're somewhere in Africa or they're somewhere in Central America, and you see someone walking past the camera with a Man U strip on or a Liverpool strip on. That ultimately you'll see that with Man City strip. But I think we're a decade away from that.
By the way, when you're talking about these two teams, they are unbelievable. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to downplay them by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying the way that we consumed it in the younger days was sit down with your parents, either at the game or watching Match of the Day. These younger kids now are watching 15 to 20 seconds worth of highlights, maybe 2 minutes at best. If it's a really good game, that's how I consume it. Who do I see? You've got Haaland doing computer game adverts. You've got Grealish on Puma. These guys will actually help the brand of Man City into this younger generation a lot quicker. I know it could take 10 years, but I think it could really jump forward really quickly with the advancements.
A decade if they continue to be so successful. But I'd also say just winning the Premier League doesn't put them into that level. They've got to be serial winners of the Champions League.
Does the players help them jump global branding? Minimise that.
Yeah, you say global branding. The Premier League, the most popular, most watched league throughout the world. It's an
but there is
unbelievable
brand. There is a debate, Graeme, about the value of players and the imagery of players and how much you've got. I know it's a different league and I know that this is not relevant to the Premier League, but you're taking players like Messi and you're dropping them into America and you're building a sports franchise around Messi.
Players like Messi. Players like Messi.
No, I mean in terms of branding opportunities, because if you talk to the people that think that players are brands, they'll say that Son's a brand in Asia. They'll talk about Messi. They'll talk about Ronaldo. They'll talk about Mbappe. They'll talk about Neymar. And these players are beginning to become more popular than teams. Before we move on to sort of the issue around what the Premier League is becoming, anybody give United a chance in this FA Cup final?
No. Of course. I mean,
you give them a chance.
I understand. If you're asking me City win, but it's a game of football, it's anything.
The boxing.
I would have put everything I had several years ago on Man City beating Wigan.
Yes.
In the cup final.
Well, that's 13 years ago. It's not the same Man City as it is now. They weren't dominating English football, were they?
Little old Wigan beat Man City. And that is a game of football.
Yeah.
That's why.
And I'm saying it for somebody who's in that. I thought about that. About 30 seconds after kicking off in the FA Cup final against City, I thought, I'm full of shit.
Yeah.
I'm full of shit. That don't happen,
But when we're looking at this Man City side, is something quite different, isn't it?
They got beat by a very ordinary, by their standards, Real Madrid this year.
Well, you say they got beat. I mean, they got knocked out on penalties.
They're not ordinary, though.
By their standards.
By their standards,
but their standard is unbelievable.
By their standards. Mm-hmm. They're not an ordinary team, but by their standards, it's not the best Real Madrid team you've ever seen.
But Man United aren't Real Madrid. Even in this version of Man United are a bag of rubbish right now, aren't they? I mean, let's have it right. Are they not?
I have to be guarded every time we talk about Man United because people think I'm sitting here with a Liverpool head on. But right now,
but they're not very good, are they?
I would say that I've seen a bang average. I think they've got a bang average group of players, and I think they have been bang average this year. And I've said this to you somewhere else. I think, if you look at what you can do in a transfer window, you can only do so much. Mm-hmm. How many transfer windows do you think they will need to be challenging City and Arsenal and whoever else is up for the league?
6.
That's 3 years. Mm-hmm. If it goes all goes to plan, and you enjoy a bit of luck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a science behind it. Some would say that Arsenal have had 10 transfer windows under Arteta to get themselves to a position where they're that close. Mm-hmm. I think if you're really good at what you do, and I think with the natural energy that United have as a football club, they might find themselves in a situation where they can do it quicker.
That natural energy you're talking about, causes them a major problem as well. And
in what way?
It goes back. It goes back to when I was a player. No, not just about how you spend money. For players at that football club, they're put on a pedestal far too soon. They're adored, they're worshipped, and that causes a lot of them never to fulfil their potential.
But I want to move this on to the debate about the predictability of the Premier League, given that we've got, irrespective of whether we think it's going to continue, there is this attitude, and I don't think it's really that prevalent, but there is this perception that the Premier League kind of looks down the nose at other leagues and goes, you in Scotland, you've got a 2-tier system where only 2 teams can win the league. You over there in Paris, you've only one team in France that can win the league, that's you at PSG. You've got two-tier league in Spain with only Barcelona and Real Madrid winning. We go to Germany, you've only got Bayern Munich. Okay, Leverkusen have done something phenomenal this season. But given that we've got a little bit of predictability going on, would you bet against Man City winning the league next year?
Not yet, no.
Would you?
No, I wouldn't. But you've answered it.
So
you've answered your own question.
Does it diminish the league, though?
You have answered your own question. Know why you've answered your own question?
Go ahead.
It's never happened before. We've been playing football here for 150 years. It's never happened before.
Yeah, but you're missing my point.
No, you're missing the point. Because it's never happened before, it won't happen in football. There will not be total dominance in the English Premier League. That is the nature of the beast. Is I've worked abroad. I've played in different countries, managed in different countries. This is the most competitive league in the world. It's the intensity here, that British way of thinking. Oh, really? You think you're the big guy again this year? And every cup, City play.
But we're already
a cup final every week.
We are already.
It's only 4 times.
I'm not worried about it, right? But we are all. Let's call it what it is, right? Mm-hmm. We are seeing dominance. Yeah. None of us at this table can sit here and say that we wouldn't. If I was putting a bet down, I'd probably bet on Man City, albeit I think Arsenal will win the league next year. But if I was really sat down and thinking, what am I going to hedge on?
Who's been our biggest influence over the last 4 seasons then in their team? Name me one name.
De Bruyne.
What's happening to him?
Well,
large chunks of the season, missing, muscle injuries.
But once upon a time, Aguero was such a big thing for them, and they replaced him. Mm-hmm. Great teams, great coaches, great managers recycle, don't they? Yeah. And they replace. And they buy, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, they buy when they're on top, right? Yeah. So they'll have already been planning in. And Phil Foden's stepping up now and stepped right up, hasn't he? Yeah, so all of a sudden, you've almost got that built-in replacement. So now you're going to be looking behind Phil Foden, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that worries, that looks like dominance to me.
Can Phil Foden be De Bruyne? He's got all the ability. He's going to be a top player unless I've said this about him, unless he gets a bad injury or he stops turning up every day and wanting to learn something new. But I think, replacing the really big players is not always easy.
But that's fine, Graeme, but we're going off on a tangent.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a reason for saying they might not be dominant.
But they are dominating. And there's no clear blue sky which says they're not going to continue dominating, which means our self-appointed best league in world football suddenly becomes under question in certain people's minds, because we regularly, in every opportunity we get, go, this is the best league in the world. It's the most economically best league in the world.
It's the most challenging, most intense.
Could we not have both in the same couple of years? So yes, Man City are dominant, but Arsenal are closing the gap. Chelsea are coming again with £1 billion spend this year, whatever they're going to spend moving forward. Liverpool are spending again.
Be careful what you say about Chelsea. That's Simon's mate.
Oh, okay.
It's not my mate at all.
But you know what I'm saying?
Objective.
All of them are spending.
Simon's dinner party.
I'm just objective. You said that line before, and it weren't funny then.
All of the players, all these big players are still coming again, right? Aston Villa are coming again. Yeah. They're going to spend again. They're a massive club. So yes, we've got dominance, but we've got so much competitiveness from within there that everyone else. So we can have both in the same argument. I think everyone wants us to be like, oh no, City only win it. No, that's why your other leagues are the way it is, and why all your players want to come here.
But my point is that in the history of our game, it's never been like that. So you're saying City are that special, that's the way it's going to be in the future.
No,
I just can't see it.
I'm debating the principle of what people's perceptions of what has happened in other leagues. Why do you think the Premier League is the best league in the world, or considered to be the best league in the world?
Make competitiveness. The way that we play is better than everybody else.
It's the money, isn't it?
No, not really.
Well, then why isn't Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, and those players playing in this league?
Going back to the 80s, and when English clubs were dominating the European Cup, there was
dominating.
During
the 70s, dominating.
80s, between Aston Villa,
we won it once.
Liverpool.
And how many times did you win it?
Just 3.
Over what period?
And then the one once before I got there.
Over what period? 7 years?
Yeah. But you've Nottingham Forest as well.
Right.
That decade belonged to the English teams in terms of the European Cup. So, and we weren't deemed the biggest, richest league in the world then.
Actually, yeah.
We weren't the biggest, richest league in the world then. It's just, people. When people say, the English game, it's aggressive, it's that. And why is it? You know why it's like that? Because our public demand is a bit like, it has to be, no one's allowed to not give 100%. Or that's what it used to be. It was always, a bit more meaty than anyone else's league. Maybe it's not not the case anymore because of the way the game has evolved. But our league was always quite different to any other league. That was my experience of working abroad.
But it's changed.
As a player
but Graeme, it's changed now, isn't it? I think the better answer to should we be worried about Manchester City dominance of English football is what has Man City done to the Premier League by winning 4 Premier Leagues? What has the quality of football become from top to bottom? What has the competitivity of the league? Because we've had a season this year where the title wasn't decided until the last game. Yeah. We had a season where the top 4 wasn't decided until the last game. Yeah. We had a season where the relegation places weren't decided until the second to last game. So you've got competitivity and jeopardy in almost every single fixture from the first whistle to the last. That's why there shouldn't be a fear, whether it's a manufactured fear or a media-created one or a discussion point fear about the diminishing of the Premier League because one side has won it 4 years in a row.
There's one thing for me that no one's really discussing, and I know this from first-hand experience with people. I won't say their name because it won't be fair, but younger players now are looking at Real Madrid and Barcelona the way that we look at Man United, Liverpool. So they've all came up looking at Ronaldo, Messi, and I know...
You mean young players?
Or young players, yeah. I know people who have left and they've gone on to go and play, and they don't look at the English media and go, I want to live in that. I want to go and play my football here at a great football club with a fantastic stadium, all of that, but I get left alone. And that's the thing.
You think the media plays a part in it?
I know that to be factual.
So I'm understanding.
I know that to be factual.
You're saying young players would like to go and play for Real Madrid.
Places like that are brutal.
You're saying young players like to go and play in Real Madrid?
Absolutely, of course they would. A lot of our players now, so would go out to Germany just to get used to life, to be like, let's play. It's a bit nice, a bit more technical. Then I'll come back and I'll earn the money, and then I'll do all these other things.
All right, the very best players playing here in England at the big clubs. How many clubs are there out there? They would leave their current club and go and want to go and play for them. For me, there's only 2 places. If you're a big player today, where would you consider going to better yourself? You're going to leave the UK. You're going to leave the Premier League.
I still think Real Madrid will be the biggest.
And where else? Yes.
And I would say Munich would still be.
That's my 2.
But my point to it is that when you're these younger players now, you, as you said here, look at Marcus Rashford. I think we have to take ourselves a lot lower and a lot simpler train of thought than what we would normally have. I'm watching Marcus Rashford, and while I'm in the youth team, he gets battered in the paper all the time. He gets hammered.
But he gets battered deservedly so.
No one's disagreeing with that.
But hang on, Gareth Bale got slaughtered in Madrid.
But I'm saying to you, if you're a younger player now, and you're 14, 15 years old, you're looking up at Marcus, who you saw That's who I want to be like.
Self-inflicted, Troy.
I get it, but I'm asking you to think lesser. Don't think with experience and wise. You're thinking youthful. That's really harsh done by, because that time he gave me a pair of football boots and said hello to me, or come and did that training session with me. He's lovely. I agree with you. A lot of the things he's done himself, I agree with you. But my point, what I'm saying is, when you start looking at it now, you don't get that. The lad who, Jadon Sancho, got battered in the UK, goes now and he's in Germany looking really well in the Champions League final.
But they got battered because they get battered and got battered because they didn't turn up and play.
But
I'm asking you to think of going to Northern Ireland.
You're talking more about social media, aren't you?
But this is where they consume their podcasts and their information. They don't go to the terraces.
What fool would do a podcast? It's a dangerous road to go down. They talk about sticking to my principles.
But it was ridiculous, though, wasn't it?
Sticking to my principles. Sticking to your principles, you get beat every week.
Currently, you can get relegated and get offered a job in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
No, not any job.
The job.
We knew what we had. We went up and went 4-4-2, old school. Stuck me and a guy up there, went right, bash them up.
I don't know how you dare talk to me about language, because I have never heard language on the touchline from a manager to the fourth official like I heard from you.
Was that?
It was
that
the
when
full
he had the
lexicon.
white suit on?
I've never worn a white suit in my life. This year, we saw all three newly promoted sides relegated for the first time since 1998. So what does it take to survive in the Premier League in 2025 and beyond? I mean, there'll be backstories, all three of them, but for three clubs to come up and for three clubs to go down again, it almost starts to move towards closed shop mentalities. These clubs are just going to go up and down, and this could be the phenomenon that goes forward.
I think that's, I can't remember the last time it happened, but it was years and years ago.
Late 90s, I believe.
Yeah, years ago. So it's just one of those seasons. I think if you go through the three teams, Sheffield United, turmoil at the start of the season, selling their best players, different managers. Luton, I thought they had a real chance of staying up because a little bit more direct and try and play like Barcelona.
Started to understand what they were.
They don't be making mistakes on the edge of your box anywhere near your goal, so they were getting it forward quickly. Burnley, you always worry for Burnley because they were trying to play the best teams at their game, and I think that's something that any team coming up, it's a dangerous road to go down. They talk about sticking to my principles.
But it was ridiculous, though, wasn't it?
Sticking to my principles. Sticking to your principles, you will get beat every week.
Yeah.
It's all right outpassing and outscoring in the Championship. We all accept there's a quantum leap from the Championship to the Premier League. And if you continue to try and play like Man City and Arsenal and the best teams, there's only one outcome.
Would you admire that?
No,
I don't admire it either. As a player, you go up with Burnley, right? And you're getting beat week in, week out, but the manager goes, "I've got a principle, and I'm going to stay with it." As a player, what kind of effect does that have on you?
I guess you the sack.
We didn't get him the sack. Well, do you know what he's going to get him potentially? The bloody Bayern Munich job.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Which is almost perplexing.
I think we kind of answered our own question within that. As a coach now, that's what you are told to do.
No, but I'm asking you as a player.
No, as a player, I'd be fuming because I want to stay in the best league. I want to be there. I want to be play. Don't worry about playing.
But
all
as a group of players, as an influential player, because you've talked before about having an influence. When you were at Watford, you were almost a conduit between.
Yes.
I mean, you had a revolving door of managers, right? So you needed to have some sort of consistency.
Just remind me, it was 18 managers he got the
18
sack.
managers. Yeah, he got the sack.
I know what you say. He's fucking boring anyway. He brings the same stuff up all the time.
It's what happens.
This is just for someone who's not listened to this show
It's
before.
what happens when you become an octogenarian, right? You start to repeat yourself, right?
Sorry?
But what did you say? I said. But you, as a player, as an influential player, would you be sat there happy with the manager going, I tell you what, this is the way we play?
Did you ever talk about that?
No, we were fortunate.
But the
only time we did it is when we got relegated. But we had that.
But was never that conversation with trying to play too much football?
No, because we knew what we had. We went up and went 4-4-2, old school. Stuck me and a guy up there, went right, bash them up. No wingers, four midfielders.
Forward a bit quicker.
Get into the front, man. Get after it.
Don't make mistakes around your
there you
box.
go. But we were fortunate. I think let's look at it from both ways. I don't think they got bashed up every game. So I was looking at some of their stats. So look at the weekend, 20 shots, lose 2-1.
Yeah.
So you look at that and you go, well, I look at that's a quality. That's a quality.
But isn't that worse then if you're actually in games and you hand it to the opposition because of some faux ideology of playing it out from the back?
Well, what's the manager supposed to do when he goes back to the goalkeeper and he fucking misses the ball and goes straight in? There's things like that. They're
that's
big
one
moments.
game.
Of course it is, but they're big moments. So you can't account for the quality that you're going to have. But he would argue now, if you're a Vinny Company, I've done done okay. Yes, we weren't supposed to stay up anyway. Now I'm being linked with a Bayern job because I've got a philosophy.
Vincent said something after the 37th game, which is, when they got relegated, it's too early to talk about it. Well, at which fucking point during the season was someone going to talk about the sort of elephant in the room, which is our style of play is going to get us relegated? And I'm trying to work out, if I was the owner of Burnley, would I have intervened and said, look, Vincent, I don't want to tell you how to play, because God forbid anyone would do that with a football person. What I want to do is understand.
Although you tried many times, I believe.
No, what I wanted to understand. Seriously, there's a point. But what I wanted to try to understand was, what's the thought process here? Because it looks like this is going to get us relegated, and I'd rather it not be that. Thank you.
I mean, that conversation, that should be a conversation between the manager and his staff. We're getting cuffed every week. We're getting, we're sitting in the bottom three. Maybe we should just try and change it a wee bit. And it's not black and white. You don't go from being a long ball team to a passing from the back. You can mix it up. See, if you're playing against anyone, you've got to create a wee bit of doubt. So if the team are doing that, and a perfect example, I can't give you a better example of this, the game you just mentioned before, the game at the Etihad, Real Madrid come to Real Madrid. In the second half, they worked out they couldn't beat City's press. So the goalkeeper, Ancelotti, was just going, and it was just a case of their goalkeeper kicking as far as he could into City's half, them winning it, and then coming back. But they were solid at that time. And the flair players for Real Madrid were doing a job, doing the hard yards. So that was great to see when you see, proper players who are full of skill and technique doing the hard yards. And that was the biggest name in world football choosing to just go long. So it's not black and white. That was just that moment in time. They had to start playing like that. And that comes back. If Ancelotti's prepared to do it, and it's Real Madrid, and he knows if that had come unstuck that way, he would have got absolutely hammered by the Spanish press. But that was a moment in time, and that was him as a manager thinking, this is the best way for me to dig out a result. We're not as good as them, but we can still get through this tie. There was an incident. We talk about Postecoglou, who's done a fabulous job. It's, it ended a wee bit.
I think he's been a bit unwise at the end of the season, lacked a bit of emotional intelligence. Some of the things he said. They played Chelsea,
right? They played Chelsea, and I read this. They played Chelsea. It was 3 players that got sent off.
Yeah.
And they were still right up to halfway, holding the high line.
Why was that, Graeme?
Well, and then I heard, I know it may have been the manager or someone.
So we're down to 5.
I've been telling them, this is how we're going to play. This is going to play. So we're sticking to our principles. Now you turn that around, if you remember, Chelsea were continually breaking that back four. If they had lost 6 or 7-0 that day, the manager's principles would have gone, wait a minute, what do you really know? They got away with it. They just got beat. They got away with it. But if they had been properly bashed up, the players lose confidence in him.
Do you think now then the manager is in a situation where you have to play a certain type of way? Or do you think it's now a case of we're being ignorant?
That's a bit of a silly question.
He answered it as a winner.
It is.
You put yourself in that. I'm saying, why does everyone keep going to the
If you answer the question, I'll give you the answer. Because you're assuming that every owner is part of a homogenous group. Right, so every owner's together. They all get together and say,
he's basing his thoughts on, they're all like you, for fuck's sake. That's what just say
I'm not.
You think they're all like you.
I'm asking what you do. They don't know the answer then, because the answer is I want to win football matches.
Yes.
And ultimately, I'm a pragmatist and I'm a realist. If I've got a better team that can play, go and play. If I haven't, do what you've got to do to win games.
Time, you've got to mix it up.
Would you have made a call earlier on then?
Yeah.
Let's just use Burnley.
I would. I didn't struggle to get here. I'm not grateful for being here, right? And I want to stay here. So if we do more of this, what is the likely outcome?
Yes.
Because I want to stay with you. I don't want this to be a challenging conversation. I don't want this to be a dictation. I want to understand from you, is this going to get better? And if we're going to do some theoretical outcome, then I'm going to have to think about it differently. I don't want that to be the conversation. Yeah. And I wish I'd done it when I had my opportunity to do it with Ian Dow, because I didn't think he was good enough. When we look at the relegation of Burnley, who do we blame? Who do we blame for all 3 sides getting relegated? Burnley.
It's a shared blame.
Is it?
Yeah.
So the owners have spent 60, 70 million quid giving them a proper group of players. The team's gone out after winning the league. So how's it their fault?
The manager has to take a fair, if not the most of the blame, and then the players. But again,
so not the owner then. So I can be excluded from this conversation.
No.
Not shared in this instance.
This time you can.
Fine.
But spent a lot though, didn't they?
I think the owner in Sheffield United's case is one to blame.
Oh yeah, that's categorically. Yeah. That's to give Heckingbottom a resource. They did spend some money, by the way. They did spend 50 million quid which I know is not a king's ransom, but there are other sides that have stayed up.
Balanced it out as well, I don't know, because I think it was the play with Sheffield United, for example, who they got rid of.
Sanderberg.
But was big. The striker who went on to Marseille and die, he was massive for them in terms of the energy and and then you replace him with, the argument would be put 20 million on 2 strikers in Brewster and committed to getting Archer, but not tried and tested at the level.
Who comes out with the most credit of the 3 relegated sides? I think it's Rob Edwards.
I thought they would stay up. Luton. I thought they had enough to stay up, because the way the manager was and the way they were attempting to play, where they weren't, pussyfooting around, basically asking players to do something they weren't comfortable in doing, which is taking the ball off the goalkeeper and making cute passes along the 18-yard line. I thought they had a great chance of staying up, but they didn't. And I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it. Man City won the league because they deserved it. They were the best team over the 9 months. And if you get relegated, I'm afraid you deserve it.
Just on that, go to 2001 when you was with Blackburn and you came up. When did the planning process happen? Because I think that's the thing that goes wrong in the Championship now. A lot of teams go up and then kind of go, what we're going to do?
I started thinking about it just after Christmas. I remember I had 2 guys lined up who was just fabulous for me, well in advance. I thought if we get there, what a footballer he was. So we'd thought about it in advance, and that come back to where it started with Man City. They'll be thinking.
But you had a good side, didn't you? I mean, I remember that season because the first game of my ownership was against your lot. And I remember also playing them at Selhurst Park. And I don't know how you dare talk to me about language, because I have never heard language on the touchline from a manager to the 4th official like I heard from you.
Was that?
It was
that
the
when
full
he had the
lexicon.
white suit on?
I've never worn a white suit in my life.
I can't see Simon Temple, remember?
I'll end up in a white suit like this by the time I finish these podcasts.
The reason I asked that, sorry to interrupt, is because I think Ipswich are prepared.
Do you?
I actually
That's
do.
an interesting one, isn't it?
I think just for the way that they were talking, the way that I happened to work the game, they went up the last game of the season.
Will they have any money, Simon?
I think they will. I think they will. I think if you look at what they've done, and I really like Ipswich. I think they've done everything right. I mean, Marcus Evans was the owner for years. I don't ever know why Marcus built Ipswich in the first place, because he didn't seem to be that motivated by it. But you've got a new set of owners that even down to the way they prepare their accounts, you can see what they're doing, why they're doing it. They tell you how they're not preaching PSR by showing you the difference between what a balance sheet looks like before you take away the PSR deductions, which is the academy and all that sort of stuff, right? So they're really quite well run, and given the fact that everyone was saying, the one thing that gets you out of the division every year on year, the parachute payments, and teams that get relegated, the parachute payments. So I think Ipswich are in good nick.
They will find it difficult.
And I think they fancy the opportunity.
Anyone coming up will find it difficult. It is a quantum leap.
No, I totally agree with that.
From the Championship to the Premier League.
But it wasn't for you. Because your Blackburn side
we had a good team.
went on.
Yeah, we had a good team, and we ended up
winning the League Cup.
Winning a trophy and qualifying for Europe several years. But
and then you bailed to go to a bigger club.
We had good players. We had good players.
When I look at Ipswich, they have a great mix of some people that have really squeezed all the orange to go from League One to where they are.
Can they make that jump?
We don't know until they get there. I'd argue no, but you do have a proper group of men who are together and know what they're doing, and now you want to add quality to that.
Mentally, they have to be on it, because
they'll be
it's
on it.
very, very easy for that confidence to evaporate if you're getting beat every week. It's very easy.
I'd agree.
Very easy to say, I'm a big personality, I'm a winner, got a strong dressing room. Yeah, when you're winning. Let's
also,
see 3 or 4 games back to back, you're losing.
Much, I agree.
But what would you give? I mean, McKenna to me strikes me as a very bright young manager. I mean, I know that a lot of people talked about him at United and a lot of the stuff that
Let's
was done
see
at
what
United.
he does next year, Simon. But
I'm going to ask you, given the fact that you've been there, what kind of advice would you give him in terms of preparing for the Premier League,
be prepared,
interacting with his owner?
Well, what we've touched on, be prepared to be flexible. Don't come up with a set way of playing, because the Premier League is such a demanding league. Sometimes, as I go back to the Ancelotti story, you have to be flexible. It's not a black and white. It's not like we can play this way or that way. It's a long, hard 9 months, and within those games, just be a little bit flexible.
If you were him, because he's been linked with Brighton, hasn't he? Would you stay?
Well, that comes to ask the question to Simon 5 minutes ago, will they have money to spend? It'd be very hard for him to leave, wouldn't it? Unless he gets a really big one.
I think they do well. It's a bit of a wild statement, but whoever goes up in the playoffs.
It's not easy.
No, but I think they're the best suited.
Well, judging by the current currency, you can get relegated and get offered a job in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
No, not any job.
the job.
Yeah.
I don't think he should go to Brighton. I think he will be given a fair crack of the whip at Ipswich, given an opportunity.
You talk about Tony Bloom, very highly when we speak about him.
I don't think you cannot. I mean,
going back somewhere else, we had this conversation.
What?
I had doubts about De Zerbi in what respect.
I was going to bring that up actually. I'm glad they've shuffled him out the door.
What was my concern about him?
Yeah, what did you say? Remind us of what you said, because you're going to rehash it and rebake it into a completely different cake.
If you look at his CV, he does not stay too long anywhere.
You did say that, but you also based it upon other principles of the fact that he hadn't got any experience here. How do these idiot owners know what he's capable of because they don't know anything?
See, I don't know too many owners. I'm just basing it on the owners I'm not.
You've known enough owners. You've known enough owners because you've had enough clubs as well. But I'm actually quite. I hated.
I like him.
I hated what he did after the Roma game, though.
Yeah,
it's so disrespectful.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, at the time, looking
it's
back,
so disrespectful.
Easy to look back and think, well, it was obvious then there was a problem. But that's why I didn't say I think I'm right in saying when I read about it, it was a difference of opinion where the club's going and their transfer policy.
You and I have that conversation. Yeah, not you and the fucking media.
Basically, Tony Bloom has said, I ain't buying the finished article. A bit like your other close friend at Spurs. He will not buy the finished article. I think he's
He got see how confused he got. They didn't know if he was talking about Chelsea.
Well, I don't think I've got many friends, so I was thinking about who that could possibly be.
I think he won't buy the finished article. The guy Tony Bloom won't buy the finished article, and I get that and understand that. But I think for Spurs
have got to. Spurs have got to. But I think De Zerbi and his attitude, and there's nothing wrong with him pushing the envelope. There's nothing wrong with him going to his owner and saying, "I want more." But you can't do that. It's so, and you can't do it. It's like. Do you know what it's like if you have a fight between De Zerbi and Tony Bloom? It's like the fans watching their dad fight with their uncle, right? And in the end, they're going to support their dad, aren't they?
Yeah,
because Tony Bloom is the godfather of Brighton. That club would be still sitting playing in a scout hut on a
in another
public park. Yeah, we got the end of this week. The biggest game that you haven't been part of a playoff game, have you? You've gone up automatically. You have, haven't you?
Lost. Yeah.
You lost to Palace in 2013. Obviously, my team won in 2004. It is a phenomenal way to get promoted. It's a phenomenal moment in time.
If you lose,
it's a
long old summer if you lose. Yeah,
but
I think it's one of those moments that will be with you forever.
Yeah, I'm trying to forget it, but you keep reminding me. So thank you.
It's distilled euphoria. I mean, it's distilled. You got a big day at the stadium. Unfortunately for me, it was at the Millennium Stadium. Still a brilliant stadium, but Wembley is. Wembley's the place you want to go. Having played there and scored a goal, did I ever tell you about the second ever goal at Wembley?
Right.
Do you know this story?
No, I did not know this. No.
Played in a charity.
What we're talking about?
No, I'm going to tell you. White boots I was wearing as well.
Yes.
Right? Second ever goal past Neville Southall.
Did you have your socks pulled up over your knees?
No, I didn't do that.
Did you have the Alice band on?
No, I didn't do that either.
Definitely had earrings. He had an earring.
I can imagine him in white boots. I can imagine him in white boots.
I didn't have an earring at all. Look it up. You can find it.
Okay.
It's a beautiful goal. Mark Bright scores the first ever goal at Wembley, which I crossed, and he was celebrating void even at the ground. And I hit the second goal off the crossbar, comes back in, volleys at the back.
Bounced off your shoulder?
No, it didn't. It didn't come off my shoulder. It came off my right foot.
Can we click this so everyone can see?
It's a fact.
Yeah.
But my question was, before we went off on some tangent, we got the playoff final.
No, this is worth listening to. These viewers and listeners will love to hear about your football career.
Thank you. I thought they might. Thank you. I thought they might, because they get to hear about yours from the 1870s all the time. Before television, they could never get to see you because it was before television, wasn't it? Yeah.
Black and white days.
But we've got the playoff final, and we've got two big sides in it. Two sides that have been relegated. Leeds, Southampton.
Oh, so we're talking this. We're finished with you.
Side. No, we're not picking.
I'm going Leeds.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going Leeds.
I'm going Southampton.
Why Southampton? Don't mind
me. I think Russell Martin. There's something about Russell Martin. He was so exasperated after Southampton lost their way when they got done by Cardiff, and I felt to myself, I wonder if you can recover your poise. I wonder if you're really going to fall apart. And the fact that he's been able to grip the metal, or nettle, isn't it? Not the metal, nettle, and get them through the playoffs, because they probably played the form side in the playoffs, West Brom, because Norwich was stinking the place out. Leeds have gone by the wayside.
All of them were a bit stinky.
So the more difficult game, I think, was West Brom.
I'm surprised Leeds didn't go up direct in the first two. I think they had the best squad out of all of them.
Right. Leeds, Southampton. I'm going to be right. See you next time we're out.
This has been Three Up Front, brought to you by William Hill.
Subscribe to the channel for weekly episodes.
And don't forget to go back for some of my upfront episodes. Not bad, if I do say so myself.
18 plus, please gamble responsibly.